So glad to be with you here today. Just sitting around waiting for people to hop on so we can get going here, and gonna jump into this live. I promised you all that I would go through this last night when so many of you jumped on and were so wonderful when I just wasn't feeling it. So let's just wait just a couple of minutes for, the notices to go out and people to jump on. And if you're coming on now, just say hi, say hi, say hi. So glad to be with you. And we'll give it just a couple of seconds here while I look over my notes. I'm just kind of taking this, just kind of going with it. So not tons of like, script or anything like that. So just kind of hanging out. Glad to be with you today. Waiting for people to get the notice and jump on. We'll give it about, one more minute here. Not less than a minute, because I'm not patient when I want to start lives. I'm not patient at all. So somebody must be on with me. You sent me a little, thumbs up. Hi, say hi to me. I'd love to say hi. Thank you for jumping on. Thank you. Okay, so have you, and I want you to think about this and answer this honestly, have you ever lived through a season where it felt like God literally was taking everything away, and you just couldn't even think what else could happen, and you were scared to even think that, because every time you honestly legit thought that, something else, another shoe fell, right? I have a mom that, throughout my life, and I've fought with this and fought with myself, is she's constantly saying, well, something's going to go wrong. Something else is bad is going to happen. And it's in my mind, embedded in there. Because when I was, a little kid, I heard that all the time. Oh, don't get too helpful. It's going to go wrong. And so I got back in that, oh my God, what's going wrong? It kind of poked that old messaging that I've worked so hard to happen. But definitely, hi, how are you today? Okay, definitely I have had a season where it felt like God was taking everything away from me. For me, in 6 months' time, and this was recently, my multi-six-figure business nearly disappeared. I had 4 houses that I was trying to sell that were just sitting on the market, and making payments and having to fix things and having to do upkeep. It literally almost drained my savings. And then the next thing is that drained savings and drained finances. Nobody's coming in, and so all this is going out. I got sued. And man, I'd never been sued in my life. And when you get a lawsuit and all that language is about how bad and evil you are and the worst person, I mean, it's that just sitting with that for a minute, whew, that's pretty hard. Is there a difference between real estate agent and a realtor? No, not really. A realtor is a real estate agent usually. Yeah. So yeah, I got sued. My clients that I had, they were also struggling to make profit. And so when you start messing with people's money that they've invested and, that trust relationship, they weren't happy. And so, then my son got in a serious accident and he needed a lot of help. And because of that, I lost my car. Was in my car. It got in the accident, was totaled. I didn't have a car. Everything about my life just was unraveling. This happened in 6 months. My faith, oh my gosh, my faith was so challenged. Who I thought I was, the successful CEO that I thought I was, where my company, I made promises with my staff, and here I am having trouble paying them. Everything about me, my identity, my faith, everything, and my finances, it was all challenged, and felt like it was just being thrown out the window. But you know what the weird thing is? I mean, while it was going on, and if anybody can identify with this and has ever lived through such a season, just say me, or whatever, or tell about it if you want. And maybe you have the same experience. The crazy part is, like, while I was going through it, I'm honest to you, most of the time, especially in the first like few months, I hated every minute of it. I was like in tears almost every day, thinking about, what have I done to deserve this? I mean, I was in a bad space with it. I wasn't loving it at all, just to be really honest with you. And like my self-esteem was just getting hit and hit. And I was finding myself feeling like worse and worse and worse about myself. But the crazy part is, and I started sharing this last night when we were together, is that now that I'm maybe on the other side, and really like when I got into this about 4 months in or 5 months in, and just kind of like started riding the wave, and I saw that I was surviving even though one more thing would happen. And there were days literally where I was like, I don't even know how I'm going to pay my staff. I don't even know how I'm going to pay my house payment. I mean, I went from having like significant amount of money and savings and success and being all that to crash, boom, bam, literally. Hi. And by the way, if you've ever been through this or you can identify with what I'm saying, please like and subscribe. These are the kind of things we talk about openly and honestly on this channel. Okay, you're you're watching while you're in your meeting. Oh, don't react too much. Okay, I'm glad you're watching. Thanks for being on. Yeah, guts. Absolutely, it takes guts. But about 4 months in the collapse, and this was recently, guys, I started being grateful for it. And now that I look at it, and you may or may not believe this, I wouldn't trade this experience for anything, truly. Even at my age, even though I lost so much money, even though it still hasn't been like perfected and recovered, it wasn't because it wasn't my my life falling apart. What fell apart for me were all the lies I was telling myself about me being great, my ego, me being in control, and how connected I was outside of my spiritual experience to whether people liked me or not, whether I had money or not, all of that stuff. And I can tell you honestly, though, when it first started happening, I took it very personally, and was because I had all the ego stuff going on, like, something's wrong with me. God doesn't care about me. Oh my gosh, I'm such a failure. Look at me at this age, and I've just totally failed, and I'm failing everybody else. And, even my clients aren't having success. What good am I? Literally went through that stuff. And these were stories that just immediately I started telling myself these stories. And after a while, it was just sort of amazing. And then it's got into the next, like always projecting forward, not looking at I talked to you about, we have a God of now. What has happened in the past? God knows the future. It is us and God right now. Well, I wasn't in that space all the time. And I started projecting and telling stories about, well, what am I going to do if I lose everything? How am I going to tell people? How am I going to, what am I going to do about this? How am I going to take care of this when I lose everything? And it started becoming this, like, this is what I'm expecting, right? And so what I realized is truly about myself is I wasn't suffering because of the circumstance, because I literally every day, I was okay. I was still breathing. I still had my house. I still had, people in my life who loved me. I had people like Keith, who is on now, that would just say, look, I got you. Come on, let's go. Whether or not I had the money, was still supporting me, believed in me. I had people in my life like that. But what you suffer from when these kind of things happen, and anything that's happening, I mean, even yesterday I had like this day where like everything attacked me. What you suffer from is not actually the events or the circumstances, it's the stories you're telling yourself about it. Let me say that again. It's the stories that you start telling yourself about it. And then, you know, because we're so primed in our culture to be in a culture of complaining, a culture of, oh no, everything's going wrong. People telling us we're done it wrong. Think about your school experience. You know, you got graded on things. This was the wrong thing. This was the wrong thing. This is the wrong thing. Throughout your life, you've had a lot of people, more than likely, telling you where you're going wrong, right? And so our minds are in that pattern and can get into it. And so that pattern starts coming up and coming up. And so our mind, when these kind of things happen, mine and yours too, I'm sure, and my clients for sure, I saw them doing it too, is start collecting evidence for disaster. Like this happened, so something else is going to happen. Like that house will never sell. Oh no, there's like some curse on me. And then your brain starts going, oh no, nothing's ever going to sell. Nothing's ever going to be better. You know, a client struggles, and then my brain started saying, oh my God, my business is over. You know, they're going to be everywhere talking about what a horrible person I am, and I'll never be in business again. One bad month, and it turns into, I've lost everything. Now, I will say these months, and part of it was because what I was thinking and what I was doing with it turned it into worse. Because, you know, when you get in that space of nothing's going right, and I don't deserve to have clients because they're not, you know, some are not having the best experience right now. There's something wrong with me and the way I do my business. You stop trying to find new clients, right? You stop trying to tell your story of what you bring to the table for your gifts. You know, for me, it was just sort of folding into myself in the story of, you know, everything's going wrong, I'm no good. And the hardest realization in this was, it wasn't so much about the money. It was, I mean, not having money to pay for things is scary, right? I mean, you lose your security, right? But it was more, as I look at it, more about my identity. I was so attached to, I'm worthy because I'm producing this, not my own self-worth. You guys have heard me in other lives talking about, you know, you feeling whole, and the way you create money is from feeling plenty, and the way you can get to gratitude and plenty is from feeling whole first, no matter what's happening to you or about you on the external. And so I had attached my peace to how much money I had. I'd feel peaceful, I'd feel good, I'd feel secure, and to the outcomes and the way my life was going. So, you know, if all my relationships were good and everything was going well, and, you know, buying another house and all the things, and clients are coming in, then I felt super good, peaceful about it. And all of it was so externally based, right? I mean, and here we go. God's given me this and this and this and challenging me. Like, are you really going to do this? Are you really going to crash along with it? These are external environments. Are you really going to trust me? Are you really going to pick yourself up and stand in power along with me and know if I am there, there can be nothing that happens. I never lose. I am God. You've been okay so far. You're probably going to be okay. This too shall pass. But are you going to raise up yourself to a new person and a new being? I mean, and there was so much else going on. Like, I was only secure if I had this amount of money. And I was confident if I had success, right? So all that stuff is so backwards. And I've been carrying that around, really literal lie for years and years and years. And here's the thing. I was like in this space at the beginning of that year, and I was praying to God, show me the limitations that I have that are keeping me from growing to where you want to grow. That is a scary prayer, you guys, because you see what happened? It was answered. I had a lot of limitations that I did not think were limitations. I thought they were wonderful. I had the money, I had the clients, I had the success, I had the notoriety, I had all the things. I did not think they were limitations. But the minute they started going away, my God was like, okay, who are you now? Who are you really, Paula? Who are you? And so there were some gifts, even though, and please understand, I am not saying, just brush yourself off, Pollyanna, it's all okay. You know, it was painful, and there's still stuff that's going on that is painful, right? But there's some gifts, serious gifts that came out of this. So I'm going to list them through. And first of all, I became so much stronger. During this season, gift number one is I became so much stronger. I know that I can survive a storm. And by the way, the other day I was sharing on a live that I was driving in this really, really severe rainstorm. I mean, probably there were like mini tornadoes. My car was rolling all over the place. Trees were hitting me and my car. My son was along with me. And I was like, first, like kind of saying, why is this happening? Why me? Da, 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 I hate this. Da, da. And then this voice came and it was like, haven't you been through storms before? This too shall pass. Are you going to collapse right now? Or are you going to keep going and you're going to know that I'm with you and you're going to keep going? And that message, that conversation with God that I had is truly, truly part of going through this huge period of time in these huge storms. So I know now that I will be okay. I have God. Now I know. And here's the thing. If you never have those kind of experiences where the rug, like they say, the rug comes out from under you, you don't discover your strength when everything is working. You know, you just can't. Everything's working, so why should you? Somebody's painting your fence, you're going to sit back and let them paint your fence. Where you discover who you really are and your strength, I know this to be true, I've lived it, and it's hard, and even though it's painful, is when your strength has to be there. You discover your strength when nothing's working, because you either collapse or you figure out how to keep going, and you rely on God, and you rely on your wisdom, and you rely on yourself, and you learn how to trust yourself. And I will tell you something that was happening to me before then. I had really high paid coaches in my life too. And these high paid coaches, I had gotten to the place, and I knew this inside myself. This was before everything crashed and went down. I knew that I was waiting for my coaches to kind of tell me what to do, like write what content, do this, do that, before I was making decisions. And so I was getting into the place where I was trusting other high paid people to run my life essentially, and not trusting God and trusting myself. So I had to rely on myself because I couldn't afford the coaches anymore. They weren't going to be in my life. And I had to rely on that. Hi. Glad you're joining in. So I became stronger. I became like 5, 10, 15 times stronger. And gift number 2 is maybe the biggest gift, and I might cry over this. My faith deepened so much. My understanding of God and my understanding of how things work together for a purpose. I heard somebody that I follow spiritually share this story this morning about, like when you bake a cake, right? There's ingredients like baking soda and flour and eggs. And if you go and eat those things like individually, it's nasty, right? But when you take them and you put them together to bake a cake, it comes out as something good. You can enjoy it, all the things. And that, just being faithful when things are good it's not, God's putting everything together for my higher good. And so during this pain, and I really started saying, God, show me why this is happening, and please give me mercy. Start to pray for mercy and start to pray for grace. I'll tell you that, because when you pray for God to remove your limitations, immediately follow that prayer with, I want them gone, but I please do this with grace and do this with mercy. I had left that part out. But in this time, I learned to trust when things weren't good. Spiritually, I learned to trust God. I learned what that meant. I learned what walking around in fear and walking around in doubt felt like, was really like how much of my story that was too. And I learned that anybody can praise when they have, lots of money, they can close deals, all of the things, all the notoriety. But can I really praise? Can I really thank God when deals die, when clients are mad at me, when lawsuits are coming. Who am I really in my faith? Can I praise when answers are delayed? And can I praise before the breakthrough? This was big stuff, because what is happening now, and I'm going to close this out pretty quickly here. I've got other clients I need to see and other things happening, but what I didn't know, and now I know, and I'm seeing it happen is that there was such a bigger self of me, a bigger plan for me, a plan for me to be involved in helping people find out what their life is like, and then use real estate as a vehicle to fund it, not the only thing, right? And not to just teach real estate, but to teach how to use your faith and how to love the Lord and how to find your divine destiny, and then have a good life and all of that, and use real estate as a vehicle. And when I got that, like during this time where everything was collapsing, the opportunities and the way I thought and everything got so much bigger. Instead of, helping clients buy a house and renovate the house, which I still do, helping my investors do that, and then sell the house, I started building communities for people that needed affordable housing. I started looking at, how do I support seniors, have really great community and great opportunities to connect with each other and those kind of things, and do it affordably. So there was a purpose coming in. And I found peace even in the storm, which I had never known how to do before. So gift number 4 in this was, it wasn't God punishing me. Sometimes it's not that you have an evil, coming after you, or an evil, in you, or demonic, thing happening. It is God Himself teaching and bringing you to a new level, right? So when I was thinking before, what's happening to me? Why is this happening? Oh, this is so awful. I literally now can and do say, first of all, thank you, God, for this experience. What are you teaching me? Help me, guide me, teach me, show me, guide me, teach me what I'm supposed to learn. And thank you, literally, and I mean it. Sometimes God doesn't remove that storm, He uses it. Let me say that again. Sometimes God doesn't remove the storm when you pray for it, or doesn't give you the immediate of what you want. He takes you through it. He uses it, right? So what I know now about hard times and those seasons is, you're not being buried. You are being planted. There's new seeds. I've been through several hurricanes in my life because I live down on the coast. And always during those hurricanes, the eye of the storm, it's frightening. You hear the wind, things are blowing around and banging and things are breaking down. But every single time, the next morning after a hurricane is sunshiny, crisp, beautiful, and new. And things get rebuilt as new. And actually, even though it's hard, communities come together and help each other. I mean, I remember one hurricane we went through, and we lost power and all the things for days and days. We all brought our grills together and put them out on the street, and we're cooking up all the stuff in our fridge because we didn't want it to spoil, and everybody's feeding everybody. We were just, it wasn't like the greatest time. I mean, we didn't have electricity or water, but it was community building that never went away. So the seed thinks it's dying. It's a new perspective that you get going through a storm. And if you keep your spiritual base and you keep looking for this and believe truly this is all for my good, the seed that thinks it's dying, when it gets planted and put underground, the gardener knows it's growing. That seed's like, oh, I'm underground, it's dark, and then all of a sudden, there's a rupture and there's something that comes above ground. It is hard seasons are there many times for all of us to grow. And this hard season, I grew like crazy. Crazy. So because of this, I love Romans 8:28, that all things work together for good for those who love God. And what this requires is that when you have these things, and I don't know, some of you might have something going on right now. And by the way, all of us have something going on right now. You know, it's God blessing us with learning and the lessons and how we can relate to each other and lean on each other. And I want this community to be there for you. And I'm going to tell you something. If you don't have something going on right now, hold on, you're going to have something going on. And so you need to figure out how to go through the storms and be stronger because of it. You know, when we love God and we start to challenge our own stories that we're telling about it and our own identities, we just become better and better at finding our divine destiny, our purpose that God put us on this earth for. And you know, even though it's okay to have money, it's okay to have abundance, it's okay to invest in real estate. I want to help you with that. It's okay to have clients. It's okay to have a successful business. It's just, what are you making your foundation on, right? Because that stuff is not a firm foundation. If you got God underneath it, if you got spirituality underneath it, if you know who you are underneath it, then you have the big foundation. So we know that God is working all things together. Like I just said, the baking the cake for those who love God, and bring out that love whenever you can. Love God. And by the way, if you're liking what this is, please share this with other people. Please subscribe, make some comments. I love it. So it's not some things are working together for the good. It's all things. It's that cake that was being baked with lawsuits for me, with losses of money, losses of cars, you know, my son needing to get some help, delays, all of it, even disappointments. That's all working together, and you almost always see it, not maybe in the moment, but then it comes to a bigger, stronger tree. So I just want to know what in your life, like anybody who's listening right now or later, or you know somebody who's talking about this, what feels like your life's falling apart right now? What part of it? And what really, if you've got that going on, or maybe later you listen to this, and what story are you telling yourself about it? Are you telling yourself that this is an opportunity for me to go through a storm? There's people there for me. Or are you telling yourself, I'm going to collapse, this is the worst thing that ever happened? Maybe you're telling yourself both things. But I hope that you could get to the place where you start looking at all things working together for your good, and maybe use my story as a rock and my journey, and where, you know, because right now, telling you the truth, what is building in my business is bigger than anything I could have come up with before this was happening. I'm just thinking bigger, things are happening bigger, opportunities are there. And not every single opportunity that I think is going to bless me comes about. Sometimes it comes in front of me and it's kind of like a God wink, like I'm here, you know, this is it, but this isn't really it. So hang in there, but I'll get a wink and it comes about, or it doesn't. But things are bigger, money is coming from every opportunities I would have never, ever have thought of myself are in front of us. A new level of clients coming in, not ones that are based in fear and their money, like always like, oh my God, I'm going to lose this all. They come in saying, I'm going to lose this all. What if I lose this all? Well, that's not what I want to work with anymore, because if you're putting out that kind of story and you're living in that kind of fear, you probably are going to lose it, and then we're all going to be in a bad space. I don't want you to lose money. I want you to prosper. I want you to succeed, but you got to have an attitude about the way you invest. Is the same with storms of life. It makes you stronger. You learn things, and I can't guarantee in real estate investing. And if anybody's telling you that's a real estate investment coach or teaching you this stuff is telling you that they can make sure you're always going to have this and that, do not invest with them, because we can't, there's too much going on, and God's got a plan in all this. I also want you to ask yourself, if this season that I just talked about, where everything fell apart, is going on for you now, really, how is it for you? You know, how is it for you as opposed to you? When I got to the place where I was praising that this was for me and I didn't know how, I didn't know why, but how is this for me? And the answer started to come, it changed my life. It changed my heart. It changed my identity and everything. And also, who are you becoming? Who are you appreciating that you're becoming because of this challenge? I started to trust myself more. I started to evaluate how connected I was, if this person liked me, what this person was saying about me, and that was really holding me back from doing things like doing this. You know, what if somebody saw this and didn't like it? And that holds us back. So here's my close here. I know we've been on together for about 30 minutes, and thank you so much for being here. If you haven't liked, you haven't subscribed, please share this with somebody else going through a hard time that it might support and help. But if you're in a season where everything feels like it's fallen apart, where you're just going, oh my gosh, does God even hear me? Is God even here? God's probably nearer to you than ever in your life. And God is like, not just near, he's holding your hand. I want to truly encourage you if you're going through a season like that. Don't judge. If I could give you, 4 or 5 things that's really going to help me, is stick back from judging the story in the middle of the chapter. If you're in the middle of the storm, don't judge the story until you can come out and look back. I thought I had lost everything. I thought it would never end. I thought that I was, I might just even need to just lay down and pass away because there was nothing I was doing of value. Everybody was mad at me. Money was going away. There's no way I would be able to live. I really thought I was losing everything. But what I was really losing was the stuff I needed to lose, my beliefs, my attitudes, my dependencies on other coaches, on not trusting myself and trusting the 3D world versus God more. Those were the things that were keeping me small. What I was actually losing was my smallness. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. And now that I'm on the other side, and I'm not certain I'm totally, completely on the other side, I know I'm still learning. I know this works together, but I am able to, when stuff happens, go, thank you, God. It literally, I say, it is a pleasure because I know I am learning and I know I am growing. And thank you for what's coming out of this. Just teach me, guide me, show me. And there's times where I got to go for a walk or I got to take a break. And there's times where I start telling myself the lies, the lie identity, but it always comes back at this point because I've been through this. And, on the other side, I've found more money, but I've found things that are so much more valuable than money. I'm not going to say instead of money because you can still have money. I want you to hear that. I'm all about that for you and your prosperity. And so is your God. But I also found strength. I found trust of myself. I found faith. I found my direction. I found peace. And like I said, my direction, who I really am and where I'm being called to. So if this time together resonates with you, please put in the comments stronger. Just comment stronger. And if you're ready to build that business, that investment, that life yourself, that's aligned with yourself and your truer self and what you're being called in God's world and God's purpose, and you want to figure out that North Star, what that's about, maybe not go through this deep storm that I went through, but be on the journey with me, I'm going to invite you to join in and stay connected and talk to this about other people, with other people, because truly your greatest chapter, if you're going through some storms, may begin truly when you thought your ego, your smallness, your identity thought that everything was falling apart. It's really might just be the seed that's planting, that's growing and being rebuilt. Thanks for listening. So glad to share this with you. So glad to be with you today. Look forward to seeing you on my next live. Please like, subscribe, and share. And if this resonates with you, just type in stronger so we can all know that we are going towards something, and that we're growing towards something, and that we are held. We are held in wholeness by our God. See you soon.